the highways, before the headlines, there were men who lived by the sound of their boots in the dirt, by the weight of iron on their hip, and by choices that couldn't be taken back. These songs aren't about heroes or villains. They're about what happens when pride meets fate, when justice rides alone and the West decides who walks away. So pull your hat down low, keep one eye on the door, and listen close. Every town remembers a name, every trail remembers a step, every gunfighter learns sooner or later the fastest draw can't outrun time. Some rode out at sunrise, some never left the street, but all of them left something behind. A story, a warning, a song. When the dust settles and the fire burns low, let the legends rest where they fell. Out of the canyon at daybreak, I rode a bay horse alone, dust on my boots and a name in my head I hadn't spoke since I'd grown. They said the town was forgetting the sins that a man leaves behind, but I knew better than to trust quiet streets or the mercy of passing time. I saw her first through the window at the Cantina del Rey, black hair falling like midnight where the lantern lights softly played. And she smiled once, just a moment, like she'd seen me before, and the past come alive with a pull of the heart that I couldn't outrun anymore. 6 shots before sundown, that's all the daylight allowed. 6 shots before sundown, for truth, for blood, for vows. The West don't care who you love or lose, it only counts what a man will choose. 6 shots before sundown, and the grave don't ask you how. The room went still when he entered, with a silver star pinned to his chest. Sheriff Valdez, fast and famous, and meaner than most of the rest. He looked at me like a verdict, like a rope already swung. Said, boy, you got nerve showing your face round here after the things you've done. I told him I didn't come looking for trouble or blood or blame, just wanted one night of peace before the desert calls my name. He laughed low and cold as winter, said that woman's mine, you see. And I knew right then in the pit of my chest, this town had no mercy for me. 6 shots before sundown, sky already burning red. 6 shots before sundown, between the living and the dead. No judge, no jury, no church bell sound, just a man and his sins on sacred ground. 6 shots before sundown, where prayers fall flat instead. She met me out by the corral, where the mesquite shadows lay. Her hands were shaking, her voice was soft. She begged me not to stay. She said, run while the sun's still high. Leave this place to the damned. But love's a fire that don't heed sense, or the warnings of wiser hands. I kissed her once, tasted sorrow, felt fate like a tightening noose. Some men ride fast from tomorrow, some men just stand and choose. The street was long as a lifetime. Every step rang loud and clear. Windows shuttered, dogs quit barking, even the wind showed fear. Valdez stood tall by the well post, hand low, eyes steady and mean. The sun slipping down like a dying coin on the edge of a blood-red dream. 6 shots before sundown, the moment a man is made. 6 shots before sundown, where courage and fear both fade. Still remembers what men forget, the cost of pride, the weight of debt. 6 shots before sundown, every promise gets paid. The thunder cracked, I don't know who fired. Time shattered like glass, smoke rolled thick, the crowd cried out. Echoes bounced off the past. I felt fire tear through my shoulder, saw Valdez fall to his knees. His badge caught light for a final time before he sank to the street. I staggered back to the shadows, blood painting trails in the sand. She found me there as the daylight died, held tight to my trembling hand. I told her love was worth it, though my breath was running thin. Better to die with your heart awake than live with a soul locked in. 6 shots before sundown, now the sun has gone away. 6 shots before sundown, and the night has come to stay. Bury me where the desert knows the names of men who stood too close. 6 shots before sundown, Lord, I'd make the choice again. They say there's crosses by the old town road, where the dust and the roses lie. Some swear at dusk you can still hear hooves and a woman's broken cry. 6 shots before sundown, that's how gunfighters say goodbye. The sun sank low on the cottonwoods, where the water runs slow and brown. There's a bend in the land they call Dead Man's Creek, just a mile west of Sundown town. They say the creek learned a man's last name from the blood it learned to keep. Every cross on the bank's got a story to tell, down by Dead Man's Creek. Rode in hard with dust on my boots and a warrant folded thin, for a man named Cole with a draw so fast even the wind couldn't win. He shot his way out of a bad mistake, left 2 men cold and deep. Now he's holed up where the willows weep, down by Dead Man's Creek. Dead Man's Creek, don't forget a face, don't forgive and don't sleep. If you come here running from your past, it'll find you in the deep. Every gunshot echoes twice, every promise you can't keep. There's no clean getaway from on Judgment Day at Dead Man's Creek. I found his tracks in the mud and reeds in the smoke from a dying fire. He stood up slow with a crooked grin, said, "Marshal, you're late, but I'm tired." His hand twitched once toward the iron at his side like he'd done 1,000 times. But the creek went still like it knew the deal as we stared down the line. He said, "This land's got a longer memory than the badge upon your chest. I buried men who prayed like you and rode off thinking I was blessed." I told him, "Son, you can curse the creek or blame the hand you were dealt, but the only thing that ever killed a man was the trigger he felt." Dead Man's Creek don't bend the rules, don't answer when you plead. The past comes back with iron in hand, and the price is always steep. You can run from towns and changing names, but the truth runs just as deep. There's no place left to hide your sins at Dead Man's Creek. The wind cut cold through the cottonwood leaves like a whisper from the grave. I thought of men who drew too fast and the seconds they never saved. One shot rang out, couldn't swear who's first. The creek swallowed the sound. When the smoke cleared low in the evening glow, only one man was standing around. I knelt him down by the water's edge where the crosses lean and fade. Closed his eyes and tipped my hat for the choices that he made. I wrote his name on a weathered plank with a nail in a shaking hand. Another story the creek would keep from a reckless man. Dead Man's Creek keeps count of souls, notches cut in stone. It don't care if you wore a star, a thought you rode alone. When the sun goes down and the water runs red and the night cuts sharp and deep, every man pays what he owes in time at Dead Man's Creek. So if you ride west with a loaded past and a gun you trust too much, listen close when the water goes still and the willows start to hush. 'Cause the creek remembers every name, every lie, every defeat, and it's always waiting patient and cold down a Dead Man's Creek. The sun slipped low behind the ridge, turned the courthouse walls to red. I rode in slow from the canyon road with every mile a word unsaid. The sheriff tipped his weathered hat, wouldn't meet my gaze that day. Said, "Son, the town's done made its mind, there's nothing left to say." They say I shot a gambling man down by the rail at dawn, but that bullet flew from another hand while I was already gone. Still the whispers filled the street like ghosts that knew my name, and lies walked tall in polished boots while truth just limped in shame. A noose don't need a reason, it don't ask who fired first. When a frightened town gets thirsty, justice always dies of thirst. You can't swear upon the Bible, you can stare the devil down. A noose don't and fears the law in town. The preacher spoke of judgment day, said the Lord would sort me out. But the judge just read the charges fast over the roar of doubt. I thought about my mama's smile and the prayer she used to say. Wondered if heaven keeps a book for men the mob betrays. A noose don't need a reason, it don't care what's true or fair. It just swings beneath the gallows beam in the hot and dusty air. You can live your life by honor, still be buried by a lie. A noose don't need a reason, just a crowd that wants you to die. If I meet that gambler past the veil, I'll ask him what he saw. Did he hear the click of another gun before I took the fall? But here on earth the rope decides what the truth will be, and the past gets tied in a hangman's knot for all the world to see. The stars came out like silver nails in a black and endless sky. They walked me slow to the hanging tree where even brave men cry. I straightened up my dusty coat, stood taller than before. If this town needs a villain now, I'll be that once more. A noose don't need a reason, it don't hear a dying plea. It don't know the weight of innocence or what a man might be. Let history judge this crooked night when the truth was overruled. A noose don't need a reason, it just does what fear is told. When the wind tells tales of a western town and a man who wouldn't run, remember this when the rope swings low: justice ain't always done.
Town's gone quiet like it's holding its breath. Boards creak slow like they're counting the dead. Lamp pole flickers, throws hell on the wall. Every shadow's a witness, every crow's got a call. Boot heel scrape where the sinners stand, dust and blood mixing up in the sand. I've buried men and I've buried shame, but the last bullet knows my name. Yeah, the last bullet knows my name, knows every lie, knows every stain. I've outrun law, I've outrun grace, but fate don't tire and fate don't wait. When the iron speaks and the world goes lame, the last bullet knows my name. Sheriff's star hangs crooked on his chest. Silver don't shine when a soul's been spent. He says, son, like it still might matter, like mercy ain't just another ladder. Mama prayed me out of this life, Papa drank himself to a slower knife. I learned early what a man must claim, and the last bullet learned my name. Yeah, the last bullet knows my name, carved it deep in a leaded frame. I carried pride like a loaded gun, pulled the trigger His thumb slipped back, the hammer slow. The sound cuts deeper than he'll ever know. Sun drops hard like a judge's gavel. No appeal left, no more gravel. I ain't the hero, ain't the brave, just a tired man digging his own grave. Tell the bartender I paid my tab. Tell the street I never turned back. No hymn, no cross, no marker or name, just a shell and a shallow grave. Yeah, the last bullet knows my name, knows my fear, knows my flame. If I fall here, let it be plain. I chose the road, I chose the pain. When the smoke clears and the silence reigns, the last bullet knows my name. Wind don't care, law don't stay, God don't rush, and let don't pray.
The sun sank low on a border town where the dust don't ever sleep. A stranger rode with a cold stare down and a promise he'd keep. His boots were worn by 1,000 roads, his coat by rain and flame. Folks whispered soft when he passed them by, like they knew his name. The sign said welcome to Dry Creek Bend, but the air said turn back now. A marshal watched from the saloon door with his hand near leather and vow. There was blood on the past of that silent man and more on the trail ahead. Some men ride on the final life, some ride till they're dead. 6 miles from mercy, 1 step from hell, where the law is thin and the graveyard's full. No prayers get answered when the gunshots tell who's right, who's wrong, who's cruel. 6 miles from mercy, the dice are thrown when the last light fades from the sky. You don't choose the cards you're dealt out here, you just choose how you die. The marshal spoke with a steady voice, son, I know that face. There's a bounty hangs on a man like you all over this place. The stranger smiled like a tired ghost, said, I ain't here to run. I'm here 'cause the man you buried last spring still owes me one. A woman cried from the upstairs room as the church bell rang once slow. 2 shadows stretched on the dirt-packed street when the wind refused to blow. The town held its breath as the moment froze between the blink and draw, where fate decides with a loaded hand who'll stand and who'll fall. 6 miles from mercy, 1 step from hell, where the truth costs more than gold. A man's whole life can be judged right there in the space of a heartbeat cold. 6 miles from mercy, no place to hide. When the past comes calling your name out here, you pay for the life you lived in lead of shame. He thought of home, but it felt too far, like a dream he once outgrew. Some debts are carved in a man's own soul, and they always come due. The shots rang out like a thunderclap, then the silence took control. The marshal fell to the dusty street with a hole clean through his soul. The stranger stood for a moment more, then dropped down to his knee, 'cause the bullet meant for the other man was paid back equally. 6 miles from mercy, the deal is done. When the smoke clears from the sun, 2 men lie still where the road runs out, and the town moves on like none. 6 miles from mercy, just wooden crosses, and names the wind won't say. Out here the west don't forgive a soul, it just remembers the day. The sun came up on Dry Creek Bend like nothing had changed at all, but the dust remembers every name of the man who answered the call. At dawn in San Miguel, past where the wind cuts cold and thin, a stranger rode in quiet on a bay mare lean with sin. His hat was low, his eyes were hard, his coat was worn with miles, and every man in that small town could read his kind of smile. He tied her near the water trough, said not a word to me, but I'd seen that brand before, burned crooked on the knee. That mare belonged to Caleb Ross, a rancher straight and fair, shot dead beside his corral gate for daring to be there. He was fast with borrowed thunder, he was quick to steal a name, but the devil knows a horse thief always rides a trail of shame. You can outrun men and mountains, you can pray and you can pass, but no man outruns his judgment in San Miguel Pass. The sheriff stood by the jailhouse door, his hand above his gun, said, son, that horse you're riding, there's some things that can't be undone. The stranger smiled like a gambler who's already lost the pot, said, I paid for her in blood and dust, ask questions if you've got. A widow stepped from the mercantile, her dress still dark with grief. She pointed slow, her voice didn't shake, said that man's a horse thief. The wind went still, the street went bare, the bells forgot to ring, and every eye in that small town knew what the noose would bring. He was fast with borrowed thunder, he was quick to steal a name, but the devil knows a horse thief always rides a trail of shame. You can outrun men and mountains, you can pray and you can pass, but no man outruns his judgment in San Miguel Pass. He broke for the reins, the mare reared high, 6 shots split the air. Dust rose up like a curtain, called death standing everywhere. He fell beside the water trough where he tied her up to drink. staring at the sky too blue to care what men might think. They buried him past the cottonwoods with no stone and no last name. Left the mare to walk back home alone through dust and flame. By sundown she was back at Ross's gate, head bowed and still, like even horses know the weight of a man's last will. He was fast with borrowed thunder, he was quick to steal a name. But the devil knows a horse thief always rides a trail of shame. You can't outrun men and mountains, you can't pray and you can't pass, but no man outruns his judgment in San Miguel Pass. So if you ride on stolen hooves beneath the western sky, remember San Miguel Pass. That's where horse thieves go to die. At sunrise I rode into Drywater town. Dust on my boots, cold weather brown. A piano cried through a broken door, like it knew I'd been here before. Men went quiet, cards lay still, whispers rode on the morning chill. They said, that's the man the marshal seeks, leaves crosses where the river bends. I tied my horse by the courthouse rail, saw wanted posters curling pale. My name was inked in weathered red for things I'd done, for blood I'd shed. I wasn't proud, I wasn't brave, just tired of digging outlaw graves. But fate don't care what a man believes when the past comes riding fast. When the last light falls on Drywater town, someone's soul is going down. Steel don't lie and mercy's thin. When you face the sins you can't outrun by sunsets, and one man won't stand, just another ghost in the western sand. The marshal stepped from the saloon door, silver badge, scars and war. He said my name like a final prayer, said, son, there's no forgiveness here. We stood 12 paces, hats pulled low, two old truths we both knew well. The law ain't clean, the outlaw ain't free, and justice rides a crooked trail. When the last light falls on Drywater town, heaven's close, hell's around. Every choice leaves a mark on time, every bullet draws a line by sunsets, and one man won't stand, just another ghost in the western sand. I thought of home I never knew, a woman's smile I never grew old with too. If I turned back 1 mile before, would I still be knocking at heaven's door? The wind went still, the street went bare, church bell froze in midair. 6 shots thundered, smoke rolled thick, fate decided awful quick. I felt the ground rise to meet my knees, saw the sky through dying leaves. The marshal lowered his smoking gun, said, Lord, forgive what's done. When the last light fell on Drywater town, there's a judge beyond this land, I'll answer like a western man. Tell the wind, tell the dust I'm bound, I've found my peace. Drywater town. Now the piano plays for no one there, just shadows and a lonely prayer. Another name fades on a wooden cross, another soul the sunset lost. At the edge of town where the cottonwoods lean stands an old stone well no one's used in years. Sunsets low on a blood-red sky, and the wind tells lies like it always does. A stranger rode in on a midnight bay, hat pulled low, eyes gone gray. He asked for water, didn't ask for names, but the town went quiet all the same. 'Cause every gun leaves a shadow behind, every road's got a reckoning sign. You can run from the law, from heaven, from hell, but not from the man who waits by the well. The sheriff Kane stepped out with a tired stare, star on his chest and dust in his hair. He said, "Friend, you're welcome if you aim to stay, but I've seen that face and it don't fade." The stranger smiled like a gambler's bluff, said, "I buried that man, I've paid enough." But the well went still and the night held its breath, like it knew both men had danced with death. Every gun leaves a shadow behind, every sin's got a long memory line. You can pray, you can lie, you can swear yourself well, but truth always waits by the well. They walked 10 paces into the sand, no crowd around, just fading chants. A church bell rang, though no one pulled the rope, and the moon hung high like a judge with no hope. The stranger thought of a woman once, warm goodbye and a loaded gun. Sheriff Kane thought of a badge he wore and the men it cost to earn it before. Wind held still, time slowed down, two paths stood on borrowed ground. Some debts ain't paid with gold or prayer, only blood beneath an open stare. The shots rang out like thunder cracks, one man fell, one staggered back. Sheriff Kane lay still in the sand. The stranger dropped the gun from his hand. He knelt by the well as the dawn broke through. Saw his own face staring back at him too. He whispered low, "It's done, it's done." Every gun leaves a shadow behind. Every soul meets the end of the line. You can ride forever, but fate won't tell. And you're the man who waits by the well. At the edge of town where the cottonwoods lean, there's an old stone well no one's used since then. And some nights folks swear when the moon burns bright, two shadows stand there in the pale moonlight.